Hello, welcome to Blue Harvest Toys. Today we're going to be talking about playsets again, but specifically Star Wars playsets. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, well, Yorkshire in the 80s, which arguably may as well be in a different planet to the rest of the UK. There was only one thing on my mind, and it was Star Wars. After seeing the original film, my mind has been blown away by the adventures of Luke Skywalker and his efforts to bring down the evil empire. Everything in my bedroom was Star Wars themed, from the bed sheets to the curtains to probably even my underpants. But of course, my favourite items were the wonderful toys created by Palitoy and also Kenner, with some of the greatest being the fantastic playsets by both companies. Here we'll take a look at some of the best and compare the differences between the two manufacturers. Well, let's kick things off in style with one of the best and now hardest to find playsets, the Palitoy Death Star, which was originally only available in the UK, Australia and Canada. Released in 1978, the Emperor's infamous planet-destroying superweapon is recreated in cardboard. The large semi-sphere, approximately 60 centimeters in diameter, was big enough to fit action figures inside, featuring some wonderfully illustrated key locations from the film, such as the trash compactor, cell block, command center and rotating gun placement. This impressive beast was held together with 10 plastic clips, also included 6 special bases for mounting action figures on. Due to its cardboard construction, tracking one down in mint condition nowadays is no easy feat, and even spare parts regularly trade for decent prices, particularly in America where the set was never released. Interestingly, Australian toy maker Tall Toys made an almost identical Death Star, but instead of being made of cardboard, it was recreated in much sturdier chipboard. And that version could also be found in Canada by Kenner Canada through a Sears promotion, which happened to have French signs instead of English. Meanwhile, in America, Kenner's take on the Death Star was totally different, and instead of being a cardboard sphere, it was more like a plastic tower with card walls. Kenner's Death Star was the largest and first playset released by the company, and had lots of interesting features, such as an elevator that travelled to different floors, laser cannon, and the opportunity to recreate the dramatic bridge scene by swinging Luke and Princess Leia over the retracting drawbridge. If you fancied a more relaxed adventure, the Palitoy Cantina could have been a thing for you. The cantina is shown in the first Star Wars film, and its location where Luke first meets the smuggler Han Solo. It's a bit of a dodgy dive full of weird aliens and unusual characters, not talking about Yorkshire there. The playsets recreated this nicely with a cool card backdrop, depicting a strange drinkers, while the plastic base had a sunken bar area where your various action figures could stop for a quick pint of a Bantha brew. There was also a cool battle action function that allowed Obi-Wan Kenobi to whack Greedo the alien in the face with just the press of a button. Once again, over in America, Ken had a slightly different take on the cantina. Although the card backdrop was the same, the base was different, which gave the playset some new features, including an opening cantina door, a mock battle scene between Han Solo and Greedo, and a slightly different battle action for Obi-Wan at the bar. Kenner's is probably the better playset, thanks to the more interesting action features. On the subject of differences, one of the playsets with the most obvious differences between Palitoy and Kenner was the droid factory. In fact, the only real resemblance between the two is the name. In the UK, Palitoy created a factory with a conveyor belt to transport the various droid parts through the different locations within the imaginary factory. The playset did actually come with droid parts to allow you to build the little robots yourself. For completionists, it's worth noting Palitoy produced a version with a yellow plastic base and also a blue one. Meanwhile, across the pond, Kenner decided its droid factory could use a crane to carry the robot parts around, rather than the conveyor belt. The base was brown with steps going up one side and a large crane in the middle, which could be moved around. Like the UK version, the factory came with interchangeable plastic parts that could be used to make 5 different robots. These small parts are easily lost, so finding a mint one with all the pieces can be quite tough. Although it's worth noting that the Kenner re-released the droid factory as a Jabba the Hutt's dungeon when Return of the Jedi hit the cinemas in 1983. And there were actually 2 versions that included typical action figures, rather than the robots you can build yourself. Another one of the more unusual playsets is the Land of the Jawas, which sounds slightly more impressive than the reality of what the toy delivered. One of the early scenes in Star Wars features dwarf-like hooded Jawas, will travel around in their massive sandcrawler vehicles, selling and buying robots. Luke and his uncle Owen purchased R2-D2 and C-3PO from the Jawas, and this scene could be recreated thanks to this playset. As for the playset, there's a card backdrop of the sandcrawler, with working elevator to take the droids away, and a plastic base to represent the desert-like landscape of the planet Tatooine. Although the American version was virtually identical, the Kenner take on the so-called Land of the Jawas included a much better plastic base, with caves for the Jawas to hide in, and a neat replica of the crashed pod that C-3PO and R2-D2 used to escape from Princess Leia's spaceship after Darth Vader invaded. So good was the base that Kenner decided to reuse it for the later Hoth Ice Planet and Rebel Command sets. Sadly, that was it for Palitoy playsets, as Kenner began to produce the majority of the Star Wars merchandise from Empire Strikes Back onwards, while Palitoy basically became just a marketing and sales department rather than a toy producer. However, that's not to say that the later playsets were no good, and in future videos I will be reviewing the Empire Strikes Back and the Return of the Jedi playsets. So please give me a like and subscribe if you're new. So until the next video, may the toys be with you.
See you, chump.